Hi, I'm Sharon Landon, and welcome to Old Asian Lady. My guest today is Erin Adele Clark. She is an American actress and English teacher. She is originally from Houston, Texas, but has been living in Taiwan now for almost 22 years. Erin shares her early experiences moving to Taiwan for grad school and what led her to stay, how her political science degree and focus totally changed after she rekindled her love for acting. After all these years in Taiwan, Erin is poised to move back to the US, and we chat about her decisions and concerns about integrating back into American society. Yeah, so hi, Erin. Thank you so much for stopping by and talking with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, so you've been in Taiwan for how many years now?
21?
For 21 years.
Yep.
Double the time I've been here. But how did you, you're from the States?
Right.
What part of the States?
I guess more Houston, but from Texas and Northern Virginia near DC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your dad didn't move around because my dad was military, so.
Yeah,
But
federal government.
Federal government
Yeah.
still, you moved around.
Yeah.
And so the last place you were in
The last
in
place
Houston.
we lived as a family was Houston, and my dad went on back to Quantico, and then he retired as the SAC in charge of the Knoxville field office.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I kind of remember you telling me before that you were maybe were you interested in following your dad's footsteps in his work before, or not really?
No, I was, but not so much FBI. I was interested in the CIA.
Okay, so, and why was it that you were interested in working for the CIA, really?
I like.
Because you don't hear too many women talk about that. In my circle, anyway.
Well,
but
I think
yeah.
most people who are interested don't actually talk about
Oh,
it.
yeah, that could be possibly true. But yeah, what about it that was making that?
I
wanna
find
do that?
like counterintelligence and intelligence fascinating,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought it would be interesting to travel and like possibly be a spy. But actually, my dad set me up with someone who had been on a task force with him, and I was able to talk to him, and that made me realize if I was in the CIA and if I was an actual agent, I would be like in the field, but I would be basically more like a handler. I would be the first person, not a handler, but I'd be the person who would tell the handler what information we need, what intelligence we need from whatever spy. And it's not really like on TV. Spies are mostly not great people.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to take advantage of their vices to get the information from them, and that doesn't really appeal to me. And then I thought about being an analyst, but the Iraq War, the analyst wrote analyses based on information that was biased, and the bias wasn't revealed to them. And I just felt like that wasn't something I wanted to be part of.
Oh, yeah. But if you were the analyst, then you
Yeah.
would be giving accurate, non-biased information.
Well, you get information from different sources,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes the source, to protect them, the source isn't revealed, and the source has particular biases. And if the analyst doesn't know, the analyst is just taking it at face value and writing based on that, and it just kind of made me uncomfortable.
I don't know. It seems like the CIA, because you always hear about CIA in movies and all of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, and it seems so exotic-y, but actually it's not necessarily.
It depends
so,
on what
you know.
part you're part of, because there's a paramilitary part, and then they're the analysts, which are mainly based in Langley in Virginia, and then there are the field agents. Yeah.
So you said you wanted to be more CIA than FBI,
Yeah.
but why not FBI? I mean, what's the difference, really?
Oh, there's actually a really big difference. The FBI is a law enforcement organization, and the CIA is not. So the FBI actually operates under the Justice Department, and they have law enforcement authority within the United States. They can make arrests. They work in terms of
CIA
intelligence.
can't make
No, the
arrests?
CIA can't. And the CIA also, they're not allowed to carry weapons in the United States. They only
Really?
operate outside of the United States. Yeah.
So you want to be more international.
Yeah.
So then, when you went to school and stuff, is that what you studied?
I think
Political, I mean,
I
politics or?
that is kind of what I was interested in. I don't know, how early did I think about that?
Yeah.
No, fairly early. I did think about that. I knew I wanted to study Chinese, and I wanted to study Cantonese, but there were
When
no
did you want to
classes.
start wanting to study Chinese? This is when you were in the States, right?
Yeah, from when I was a kid.
Okay,
But I
wow.
wanted to study Cantonese because I like Cantonese. I love Hong Kong, and I grew up visiting my grandparents there, so I wanted to learn Cantonese. And there were no Cantonese classes, so I started Mandarin. But let's see. I guess I studied Asian Studies and Policy Studies International Affairs at Rice.
Okay, yeah, I studied, I got a degree in Asian Studies as well from Hawaii. Oh, but did you end up speaking Cantonese? Do you know? I mean, I know you can speak Mandarin fluently, but
Only my grandparents' old address because we once got lost. That's 街恒街169號 法國醫院對面
oh gosh,
169 Boundary Street across from the French Hospital.
right?
And like things like good morning, like Joseon, and both of the thank yous, and then sorry and food, which is the most important.
Yeah, it's very true.
雞尾包, that's my favorite.
But okay, yeah, that's a specific one. Say that in Mandarin.
雞尾包,
Oh, 鸡尾包.
but they don't have it here.
Really?
Yeah.
Even in the Cantonese restaurants?
I've never, maybe Brother Hotel.
鸡尾包.
Yeah,
I
but
have no idea
not so
what that
good.
is. Oh, but anyway, that's your favorite food?
It's one of them.
Okay.
I like a lot of foods.
Okay, so you wanted to study Mandarin back in the States,
Yeah.
and then did you, I mean, but when you're to school, in school there, Chinese is not offered as a actually a language. It's usually Spanish or French or something like that.
You mean
back in the States?
Before university or in university?
Yeah, before university.
Before university, I would have studied Chinese if I'd had the opportunity. I took French in eighth grade because in Virginia you were allowed to start a foreign language in eighth grade. And then I moved to Texas, which only lets you start Spanish in eighth grade. So I wanted to take French too as a freshman in high school. And we had a different campus for ninth grade that started that year. And they refused to bus me over to the other campus to take French 2. And at the time, so when I finally took French 2 as a sophomore, and there was no French 2 honors at the time, so I had to take like just the regular French 2. And there was a 2-year language requirement, so most of the people in my class didn't care. And so they were just trying to meet their graduation requirement. And it was really boring, and the teacher would let me and another friend go out in the hall and work on our own.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, but did you actually learn to speak French then, for real? You were able to communicate?
Yeah, and I guess I took 3 years total. I would have gone on, but unfortunately they put French 4 late in the day, and by that time I would have had to take extra classes to stay in school that long, and I prefer to just get out at noon every day.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Is this in high school?
High school, yeah.
You guys got out at noon?
No, I did.
You did.
I did. I did.
You did, but how come?
Because I'd met all of my requirements, and there were not classes. At the time, there were no dual credit classes, so I couldn't get like credit for college by taking more classes, and there weren't classes that interested me. And if I'd taken anything that was level instead of honors, it would have lowered my grade point average.
Oh, wow, because I'm thinking about, because when I was in high school, junior high school and high school in Maryland, I don't remember that we were able to, because I always had full days.
Could have been a local thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want, but to your question, yes, I used to be conversational in French, but I pretty much lost it, unfortunately.
Yeah, me too. You ever try to think in French over here and then kind of think in Chinese, really? Because I can't figure out I can't find the words in French. I don't know.
I did go through that, like going from French to Chinese, and then from Chinese to Arabic.
Oh my gosh.
And they all have "de," but they all mean different things, and yeah, that would confuse me.
Okay, so you actually stopped thinking then that you stopped thinking that you wanted to be a CIA.
Yeah.
At what what point?
Oh, I think it was probably, I can't remember when after I talked to my dad's friend. Because, I mean, he made it clear that people who are willing to betray their countries are generally not good people. They may be helpful to your country, but that doesn't, it's just not, it's not the kind of thing I really want to be involved in.
Yeah.
So I
just
guess
dealing
for
with
sure, maybe sometime after I would say like 2003,
2003.
that I was pretty sure that I didn't want to do that anymore.
2003, you were in high school, college.
Thank you.
College.
I graduated in 2003.
You already graduated in
From
2003.
university.
Okay, so at that point, you're all the way up to university, college.
Yeah.
So you were already far down that line, or that type.
It still interested me.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I had decided by that time I didn't want to be a CIA agent. But I did consider later, especially in grad school, when I finally decided what I wanted to study at NTU, I thought I might go into like work for a think tank. I love RAND. I love CSIS in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
The Centers for Naval Analyses.
I always wondered about think tanks. I mean, what exactly is that really? Just a bunch of people get together and discuss
They
topics.
do have physical locations, but they often they produce a lot of research.
Okay, so
And so it's scholars. It's mostly PhDs, but also professionals and people with masters. For international security, you have a lot of people who are both highly educated and also officers or former officers in the military.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. It's all dealing with security of the United
What I
States.
like.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay. So there's other stuff that
Yes.
is
There's
shady.
Shady?
Is it shady? Oh,
You mean
just
think
based
tanks?
on no, right?
I don't think think tanks are
Okay,
shady.
okay.
The whole point is that they shouldn't be, so that their work is trusted.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, after you graduated, you decided not to do that. Where did you go from there?
University?
Yeah. You said you graduated.
Yeah.
In 2003.
Yep.
And you had thought about being in a think tank.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so then at 2003 when you graduated, what was your direction? You didn't want to be a CIA,
Oh, that's actually really interesting.
Okay.
Everyone I knew was interviewing for jobs on campus, and I just didn't feel like that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I honestly didn't have any idea what I was going to do after graduation. And my mom asked me, and I said, I don't know. All my friends are interviewing. I don't think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And she said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to continue to study languages. I want to I want to do things outside. I want to be athletic, and I want to continue to learn. And then the very next day, I was on my way out of my Chinese class, and my teacher stopped me. And she said, what are you doing after graduation? And I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to China or Hong Kong. And kind of as an afterthought, I said, or Taiwan. And she said, well, why haven't you applied for the scholarship? And I said, isn't that only for someone who has time left at the university? I'm graduating. And she said, well, could you delay graduation? I said, no way. I have a ring. I have everything ordered. Everyone's been invited, and this is my class. And so she said, let me know if you're interested this afternoon. And so I actually went back to my room, and I called my mom, and we prayed about it. And then I thought, yeah, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So I contacted her, and she said, send me your CV today because we're interviewing someone else.
Wow.
I sent her my CV that day, and then 2 days later, she asked me, like, can you delay again? And I said, I cannot. And so she said, I'll talk to the dean. And so the dean of humanities gave special permission for me to graduate and then go. And it turned out that it was actually the Taiwan scholarship. She was an alumna of NTU. And I guess because of her standing and because of my university standing, Rice was given one scholarship to assign to who they chose.
Right.
And it was a Taiwan scholarship for the Huayu Enrichment Scholarship. And so that's what I got. And a few days later, I knew that I was coming here.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had no idea.
You didn't really have to think too much.
No.
You just like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But like all up until that point, it was weeks away from graduation. Literally everything had been ordered. You know, all invitations had been sent out, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And then I was coming here. Yeah.
So from that time to when you got here, what was the length of time?
Not long, because that was what I graduated in May, and then I came here in August. It was a full year, so it was August to August. And then in between, basically, I went to work again at a Christian athletic camp for inner city youth.
The States.
Yeah, in the States,
Okay.
in Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, in the Ozarks, yeah, or Missouri.
Yeah.
Golden Missouri.
Oh wow! So you came here on a full scholarship.
Yep.
And what was your field of study then?
Oh no, that was the 华语奖学金, so it's specifically for Mandarin.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, and she chose you because you were good in Mandarin back in the States.
I
It's
actually
like, what
never asked
happened?
her why she chose me. It is kind of funny though, because someone who's a friend of mine and was also like a friend of my suite mates, and she ended up, I only found out later, she was the person they were going to interview that day.
Oh.
And she's actually Taiwanese American, and I still keep in touch with her.
Oh wow.
And
Was she
it was
resentful
only
or
years
anything?
later when I recently I was going through old papers, and I found the photocopy that I had to turn in, I guess, for my visa,
Right.
that said that I'd been awarded the scholarship, and it had her name on it as runner-up.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you never talked
That's
to her
okay.
about
She had
that?
more money than I had. So this is the only way that's the only way I would have gotten here.
Okay, so then you studied Mandarin for 1 year, and after
Mm-hmm.
the it was a totally full scholarship for you to come live in Taiwan, room board.
Right, but basically, you had to come first, and you had to attend classes for 1 month before they started releasing funds.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's part of the reason I decided I wanted to live on campus, and there's only one place that lets you do that. As far as I know, it's still the case, and it's Furen University
University.
in
Okay.
Xinjiang. They were the only ones that would allow language students to live in dorms.
Oh.
And I didn't have money, or I thought like enough life experience or language experience to find an apartment. So I chose there, and I also thought, based on what I saw online, that it was a suburb. Like an American suburb, and it is not. And there was no MRT at the time either, so
Oh.
every time I'd be like in Danshui, and I'd be, it's 6 o'clock, I have to start heading back, because it would take so long to get back.
There was no
And they would
MRT.
lock the door.
Oh,
And
I
then the
think I
person who had the key would keep the key with them overnight, and you couldn't even unlock it from the inside, which is a fire hazard. And I told them that. And one night, and the clock was fast, and one night the person locked the door early because the clock was fast, and I got back before 10, but the door was already locked, and it was like that old kind that had the bolt, and you could see it, and the handles like this.
Yeah.
So I kind of pulled on it, and I realized that it was a bit loose. So I started rocking it, and then finally I got it going enough that it popped open, and I was like,
Oh, you got to
So I
slip it
went
back.
in, and I was trying to line it back up from the inside so I could close it, and I made so much noise that the person who was on duty that night came walking around, and she just looked at me, and I go, "It's not time yet." I just walked by her back to my room.
Oh, that university is a Catholic one
is.
too, right? So they're pretty strict on time.
Only for women, Sharon.
Oh yeah.
It's really.
Yeah, this is another thing. I remember one of our guests talked about being in a protest not too many years ago because that restriction was
Yes,
only
and
for
she
women
was
and not
successful.
men. Yeah, yeah. You
I know who
I'm
you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
good
that's
for
something.
her.
And I was just thinking in 2003 that there was no MRT. Now I just remembered
yeah.
because I was thinking, I don't know if you know Jerome, but he was working on the MRT here. And I remember now, he said I think 6 that the MRT
was years
started.
later.
Wow. So, okay, so did you, I mean, coming here to Taiwan,
Yeah.
you said before you'd been to Hong Kong.
Right.
And you said you were talking about going back to China. Mm-hmm. But you were in China for
I
particular?
studied abroad for 10 months there when I was a university student.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that was already studying abroad Mandarin also.
I studied 4 years before I came to Taiwan. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I mean, I was just thinking of the environment going from the States to here.
Yeah.
One, of course, there's no MRT, but were there any other things that you came across that was really hard for you to adjust, or did it come very easily?
Let me think, because it's been so long now, it all gets mixed together. Culture shock. Um, I don't think it was just Taiwan, but it was also that I'd never really lived in a city before. Even Rice is like in Houston, but it's not downtown. Baltimore, I was in the city, but I guess, let me think. Oh, I know one thing that really surprised me was uh, I don't know why I had this idea. Did I still have this idea before I came here? Oh, maybe that was when I went to China. I love Cantonese food. I grew up eating Cantonese food. My mom always fixed Cantonese food. I ate it in Hong Kong, and I absolutely love it. And before I went to China, I was looking forward to eating like my favorite things. And then I got to Beijing, and it was nothing like that. I think it was a little bit like that in Taiwan. The food.
Okay, so aside from the accent, obviously in Beijing, you're
Oh yeah, I
comparing.
did struggle with that in the beginning.
Yeah, so you were in Beijing for 10 months. I mean, do you feel like in cultural wise there was a big difference there compared to
Huge.
Taiwan?
Huge.
What aspects are you talking about? That's quite
Okay,
different?
so for one, at least my experience was people were afraid to lose face in China more than here. So I remember my mom sent me a package. It was a very particular post office, and I had to get to that post office to get my package. And I didn't know where it was, and I asked for directions on the street, and they clearly didn't know. Instead of telling me they didn't know, they just said it's that way, and I went the wrong direction. And it wasted like why didn't you just say I don't know?
Yeah.
I'm fine with I don't know.
Yeah. I went across
Yeah.
that several times. I mean, even in Taiwan, sometimes people do that,
Yeah.
but generally, like especially if I ask young kids, they'll just go out of their way to
To
use
help you
their
figure it
phone
out.
and help
Yeah.
you find
Yeah.
it. You know,
And then I felt maybe in general people were not so friendly,
Yeah.
in Beijing. And from the moment I first got here, I mean I had to find my way to Xinzhuang. No, actually, I had to get to Dingxi because I was staying at a hostel for like the first few nights. And I had no idea, where it was or how to get there from the airport. I took the bus, and at the time I had a trunk, a plastic trunk, which I still have. It's not doing well, but it still holds my
It's been
clothes
20
on.
years or
Yes,
something.
it's plastic. It's like an old
Yeah.
Contigo trunk. It had no wheels, so I was carrying that.
Oh my
And then I had a backpack that was fully loaded, and then I had like a small bag, like my carry-on on the front of me. So I had a lot of stuff, and it was so heavy. And I got off the bus at Minchuan West Road because I had to take I don't know, it was like the orange and green, they ran on the same track then. And I clearly didn't know where I was going, and a woman asked me, and she took me to the MRT station. She went into the MRT station with me. She told me you cannot eat, drink, or chew gum. Like she warned me, and then she took me onto the platform, and she explained the green and the orange both run on this track. You need to get on this train. Okay, this is your train. And she made sure that I got on the right train. And so my first impression of Taiwan was like people being very friendly.
Yeah. So then after your year of scholarship, you're still here. So did you go back to
I had to go back first.
you had to go
yeah.
back first and
Yeah.
then
But
yeah.
I knew when I left that I decided before I left Taiwan that I wanted to come back. Yeah. So I left some stuff with, I can't even remember where or who I left it with, but my trunk. I left the trunk. And
Wow.
because I knew I was coming back.
Yeah, that's really interesting to have that knowing already definite that you were coming back. You
Yeah.
didn't know how at that time or when.
I didn't know what I was going to do. I was planning, I think, I was hoping to come back as soon as possible. I can't remember if I came back in October, or if I came back in December, because I had to, prepare things and yeah.
So it was within the same year that you
Yeah.
came back.
Yeah.
And then when you came back, was it for studying or you were just going to come and live and look for something?
Oh, it wasn't for studying. I had no money.
Okay. Yeah, so
No, I thought I wanted to work, and
Mm-hmm.
then I don't know if I understood at the time that if you just have a bachelor's degree, unless you have some kind of specialization, you can't just do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being that the only thing that was really available to me was teaching English.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, a lot of people that come to Taiwan, they teach English.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good way to make money. I mean, you didn't have, you had a certification that you could teach English?
No.
Okay, so
No, you just have, but you do have to be from an accredited university.
university.
So you're basically, your school just needs to be on their list of acceptable schools, and then you need to be from a country where English is the like official language. Well, I guess the U.S. doesn't have an official language, but yeah, basically from an English-speaking country, but they don't include all of them. So, for example, like the Philippines doesn't count.
Really, I
Yeah.
know a lot of Filipinos that teach English.
Yeah, but they
Oh, back
probably don't
then,
have
maybe.
an ARC to do that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
They can't be hired for that without, I guess, maybe like having an open work permit.
So then you ended up teaching English, and how did
Yeah.
you how long did you do that? That was to survive,
Yeah.
basically. But then
I taught for a year at a kindergarten, and maybe I shouldn't say that. Did you know that teaching English in a school to kids who are under first grade is illegal?
I didn't know that.
100% of it
Oh,
is illegal.
under how?
First grade.
First grade.
Yeah.
Because
So
at that time
all
they
of
didn't
those,
have
no,
pre-kindergarten.
all of those
or-
bilingual kindergartens are illegal. All of them. All of them.
That
It's
was
against
back
the law.
then or
no,
now?
that's now.
And
the
what
entire
is
time.
that? What's the reason for that?
My understanding is that it was a poorly conceived, like, political grandstanding to show like support for the mother tongue, Taiwanese or Chinese. So, and yeah, they all those people, I'm sure, who passed that law sent their kids to international kindergartens.
Yeah.
But they are illegal, and if the police come, then they will. They, like, all of the teachers who are working there have to run out of the classrooms and run upstairs. Technically, I worked in a anshinban.
Oh, Anxingban, which
My
is
ARC said I worked upstairs, but there are no
okay.
kids upstairs in the morning.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in different countries and that people they know that it's not acceptable, but they just do it anyway. I mean, when you're talking about running, the teachers running out, it just brings me to mind is whenever I go to different parts of Taiwan, for example, Ximending or something, and then there's those vendors selling food, and then when the cops come walking over, they're all like running with their
Yeah.
carts. But then next thing, the cops leave, and then they
just
they
come
come back again. But they know that they're doing it.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's not
So
like
they won't actively go unless someone complains. So
okay, right.
the different schools will report each other.
competition.
Yeah. So like Hejian might report like Hejia, like
Oh my
Hejia.
goodness. Okay. So so you stayed the whole time teaching, or how long did you teach?
That
and
was
when did you?
that was a year. And the administration at that school also, that was the main reason I left. They lied, and I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And so they unfortunately put me in a position where I couldn't find another job before I finished that one. And so I had a break in my visa. And that meant I had to leave and come back in on a tourist visa. So that's part of the reason it took me so long to get an APRC.
Oh, you had to.
So when I came back, I looked, and I basically had to wait a couple of months because it was before Chinese New Year. And I got a job at David's for 3.5 months, teaching mostly adults. And I did that until I started grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for grad school, was it easy to get in? What I mean, what was the? I guess maybe it's not easy to get in, but what did you study in grad school and how did you do it? I mean, it's in Taiwan, is it?
So I applied for I was awarded the Taiwan scholarship.
Oh,
Yeah.
you applied while you were in Taiwan?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
But it had to go through TICO in the US. So I applied through Houston. And I got it. And then I applied to Zhengda. And I applied to NTU and I got into both and I chose NTU.
Oh, what was your grad studies?
Technically political science, international relations was my group, and then because you have to have like a group, and then international security. But I studied military strategy, the People's Liberation Army, Navy, Chinese strategy and Chinese campaign strategy, and 大战略 and 战役学 and
So
in the East China Sea and the South China Sea. I used to know all of I used to know more about their strategy, their tactics, and their military capabilities and their weaponry.
But how is that? So they allow a foreigner to do that? It was like not.
Who
I mean,
allowed?
Taiwan or the school. It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
They're
I guess
not giving me classified information.
Okay.
But no, you can find a lot of information. And I will say, I had a friend, and I really wanted to read 战役学, which is the science of campaign, like science of campaigns. So there's like 战略, which is like a broader strategy, military strategy, and then there like science of military campaigns. And that document at the time was only circulated within the PLA. And I couldn't get it. I tried. I ordered a copy on like Taobao or something, and it didn't come. Like my order was canceled. So a friend of mine said, "Oh, my husband, he's a dentist. He goes regularly to China. Oh no, dentist. Sorry, he's an optometrist. He goes regularly to China. I can see if he can get it for you." And I was like, I don't want him to get in trouble. And she's like, no. So he brought me back like a copy of it. That he must have gotten it and had it scanned. Yeah, and he brought it back for me. So
I mean, all the topics, all the class that you talked about, I mean, I would never imagine. But how did you, was it because of your interest originally in CIA that you got into this type of thing? And were you thinking that you were going to be able to work in Taiwan in those particular, categories?
I should also mention I was interested in going to the Naval Academy in the U.S. when I was younger, and I thought I would like to fly fighter jets, but I'm actually too short, and also I don't think I would have been good at it. But I thought that's what I wanted at the time, and then I had too many I had knee surgeries, and so I didn't want to delay. And anyway, that didn't work out. That's kind of why I went another direction.
Oh,
yeah,
because Naval Academy, I mean, you would be learning, tactical strategies and naval kind of stuff. Okay, yes. I see. But when you went to study, your grad school was in Chinese, right?
A lot of the reading was in English, but the courses were Chinese. Yeah.
Okay, so your language ability at that time was already fluent, because that is specialized language. Yeah. So
absolutely. Well, sometimes you just jump in deep water.
I know. How did you end up? I mean, what challenges? Did you have any challenges doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Taking these classes? Yeah, but you picked them. And did you ever
there
regret
are classes you have to, you mean I picked the course of study?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. There are lots of challenges. A lot of it is the way that information is disseminated. Like crucial information from the department will go through like word of mouth, and like, but that's ridiculous. You have to send it to everyone. It's not fair. Things like drawing study desks, for example. And they're like, oh, we already had that. Oh, well, did you send an email about it? Because I don't remember receiving that. So stuff like that was really frustrating, because it's like, that. And then a lot of people, they had gone to university together. They knew each other. And they were kind of like cliques already. And then some assignments, like, for example, I took a statistics class when I thought I was going to study I thought I wanted to study democratization, which I mean, so I thought I would go that track. and that they have different requirements. So I was taking a class in statistics, which is really, really hard for me. And the assignments were not like clearly explained. It would just be like, my classmates would just know. And I'd be like, how do you know? There was nothing that would, how do you know I don't understand. So that was frustrating. And then the other thing was that all the classes I took were mostly like 2 hours, but they weren't 2 hours because they were actually an hour and 50 minutes with a 10-minute break in the middle. So they were barely over an hour and a half total. And I mean, the very first day of class, there will be the reading. Would have like the reading breakdown, and then you basically like who's going to do this week. And if more than one person puts their hand up, then you have to 剪刀石头布 to see who gets it. And then every week it would just be someone who would basically write an outline in Chinese of the reading, and then just like basically just read off their outline, and no one else will have read it, and no one will discuss it, and then class is over. And there's no instruction. And like I had a teacher who multiple times, sitting at the front of the class, fell asleep while people were giving presentations.
Yeah, you know, teachers are there's good ones and there's bad ones. But so that your classmates were all local.
Most of them. There was an Italian guy who was also studying the PLA.
Okay.
And his Chinese was exceptional. I think now he's in the restaurant business or like importing olive oil or something.
Oh.
Yeah. And then there was another American ahead of me. Then later there was another American guy who came in. I think he works for the State Department now. And there was some Germans, but not in my class. I think there was just me, the Italian, and a Canadian guy.
So what were you hoping to do after you graduate with this degree? I mean, in the topics that you were talking about.
Well, by the time I switched to international security, I was thinking I would like to work in security in Taiwan, but then I realized that's probably not going to happen because I'm American, and that stuff is really sensitive. And then I thought, well, that means that if this is what I want to do, I have to leave, and I have to find positions in the U.S. and think tanks. And I realized I didn't want to leave for that. That wasn't just enough for me to leave for that. And then I thought, okay, well, at least now I have my master's, and I'll be able to find other work, not just teaching English. That was part of the reason I wanted to take this course, was because by the end I would have more opportunities available, not just teaching English. But it was because I was a grad student that I had like some time and flexibility. And when suddenly this person, I didn't know them, they contacted me on Facebook, and this guy was working for a talent agency, and they're quite litigious, so I won't name them. And he was online going through a mutual friends list of Facebook friends, looking for like white people in Taiwan. And he messaged me and asked if I would be interested in doing commercials and things. And I said, yeah, because I had been, but I had never pursued it.
Right.
And that's how I got into acting. And then the more I did that, the more I enjoyed that, and realized that is what I wanted to do.
So you had never taken any classes back in the States for acting?
I did acting one at University of Houston downtown. My mom and I were classmates, and we were cast in Butterflies Are Free together.
Oh, really?
One act of Butterflies
Didn't
Are
get
Free.
the bug then?
No, I did, and then acting two at Rice. And I did a couple of plays at Johns Hopkins, also one acts, when I was a freshman. But I didn't have, I guess, confidence or faith that like I could pursue that as a career. But I never really let it go. Even when I came here, I brought my work that I'd done in acting too.
Okay.
At Rice. Like I have it in my apartment right now.
Okay, so it was in the back of your head, because the first time that I met you, it was through acting, theater, and class and stuff like that.
Yeah, with Brooke Hall.
Yeah. So so you did commercials and things? Was that a regular kind of job that came through? Because there's always commercials looking for
Oh yes,
West
but you
foreigners
see,
and
yeah,
stuff.
they're usually looking for foreigners who look like models.
Oh,
Not as often like others. So I did get a fair amount, and then I stopped doing so much when I was closer to graduating because I really had to focus on my thesis.
right. And
Yeah.
your thesis was about?
Oh, the security implications of the development of the People's Liberation Army Navy in like for regional security from 1985 to 2015.
And it was in Chinese, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ah, I don't know how
And it
you
was
did
like
it.
a doctoral dissertation length, so it was like more than 250 pages.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My work
Well,
cited, and I say that instead of bibliography because I really did use all of those sources, and I even deleted some that I ended up, when I took out a whole chapter that I had written. It was still 57 pages long.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was cited.
Those were
where?
all citations, like in my bibliography, my work cited is 57 pages long.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that good or bad?
That means I cited a lot of sources.
You got into after you graduated. When was that? You graduated grad school.
2016, I think. July.
2016.
Yeah.
Okay, July 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I moved here in 2015. So I must have met you just right after that or something.
Not
like
too long
that.
after that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when I decided if I was going to do acting, I had to take it really seriously. And then I would take the next opportunity that came along because I'd heard about these open classes that Brokaw had. But by the time I decided to do that, he wasn't doing those anymore. He had just stopped. So I took the very next workshop he had, which I believe was a Meisner workshop. And I met like Lana, I think, and Sarah and some other people. And then because I did that, then later I also did like acting boot camp with him, and that overlapped with a director's workshop. And he asked me if I would be an actor in that. And then you were in that too.
in that class because I had I was taking a break from his classes because I'd taken quite a bit of acting classes before. But at what point did you just totally decide? Because now you're very, very, very involved and active in the entertainment industry, acting community here.
Yeah.
But was there a turning point decision that just said, hey, I'm going to do this rather than what I spent all that time studying and writing that dissertation?
Yeah. I think it was close to graduation. And by that time, I already knew that I didn't really want to do that anymore. And that if I wanted to do that, I had to leave to do that. And I didn't want to. And I was more naive about acting. I thought, like, if you're good and you're very well trained, which I was not at the time. But I thought, oh, then there will be opportunities. And that's just not true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Taiwan is a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are opportunities depending on how you look.
There are some, but for what
and-
I'm looking for now, those aren't available to me here. But I would say it was before I graduated, I already thought, like, I want to be an actor. I don't know when I told my family. My late grandfather, for years would continue to ask me when I was going to get my PhD. And I'd be like, no, not doing that again. That was horrible. No.
Well, at least you didn't buckle to, family pressure about, doing that.
Yeah, because that actually, I mean, I probably could have gotten a scholarship for that as well and just continued. Yeah, it might have even been easier since I had so much done. It was basically like a dissertation already. But I was also like just really sick of it. And I was sick of academia. And you asked a turning point. Yeah, it was a little bit before I graduated. I was working on I was close to finishing my thesis, like writing it, and I was with a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, and I said something about like academics or academia or something like that, and she said, "But you are one," and I went, "No, I'm not," and I actually surprised myself, and then I realized in that moment, oh, that is not me.
Wanted.
That is not what I want.
So did you ever feel that, oh my gosh, you wasted so much time and effort with all your education stuff, then you're not, yeah, okay, that's That's good.
Yeah, and I think the skills that I learned, the language skills I acquired, I use. The research skills that I sharpened, I use for acting. You know, I know how to find information. I know how to get things done. I know how to research and analyze, and all of those skills I bring to bear in my acting. Yeah, and I also think I wasn't at a point where I personally could have done that earlier, not just in terms of those skills, but just handling life as an actor. I don't think I would have handled that well. Yeah.
So you mentioned before that you hadn't gotten that much training for acting, but now you have. You've actually gone on to take Meisner.
Yep.
2 full years of
Yeah.
Meisner.
Correct.
And a lot of other workshops and classes and stuff. How important do you think that is really in an actor's career? To spend that time, money, training.
I would say training doesn't ensure success, but it really every actor needs to know how to work with themselves and to have an approach. And I think that maybe some people can do that more intuitively or organically, but everyone would benefit from training, regardless. Everyone benefits from good training.
Yeah.
From a good atmosphere, a supportive atmosphere, and someone who will push you to get where you need to go, but do it in a gentle way. I think everyone benefits from that. But for me, specifically, I sought out Meisner because you may have noticed this, but I think a lot. And some would say overthink. Most people would say overthink, overanalyze. And in acting, it's not helpful to filter everything through your mind. It takes you out of the moment and your ability to receive what the other person is giving you and to respond from impulse. So I think for me, I really wanted to be able to do that, and I think that was missing in my acting. I think I was naturally fairly good, but I didn't have that ability to just bypass, to take the preparation, then in the moment let it go. And that's what I think Meisner training gave me. So I would definitely not be the same actor without that in terms of impulse. And I also discovered my creativity. I think it was always there, especially even in the way that I approached my thesis. No one else did exactly what I did, and I know for a fact that people have referenced my thesis and have downloaded it, have read the bibliography, and I didn't think of that as being creative. But then we were pushed. Well, because you did that year, that we were really pushed every week to come up with new things, and in practice, with our partners, and that really helped me to realize that I have levels of creativity that I hadn't accessed.
Yeah.
And that I really loved art. I had no money. I would go and spend what little money I had in the art supply shop, buying things to use to make these independent activities, which are a part of the Meisner training.
Yeah.
And I remember I had just come from the art shop. I was walking home. I was waiting for the light to change. And suddenly I just said out loud, I love art. And I until that moment, I didn't realize that was really a part of me. And I think that without the training, I would have been stuck, because sometimes we're limited by our own thinking, and especially our own thinking about ourselves and our abilities. And I think that training helped me to access that. And then the second year really helped me to bring in other skills and tools to use to draw close to characters. And I feel like I 100% would not be the actor I am. Not in terms of imagination, not in terms of physicality, not in terms of voice, if I hadn't had that training. And if I didn't do it regularly, because I keep it up. I use voice and body all the time. I work on it myself pretty much every day, and I take movement for actors, and so much has unlocked when it's all a synergy. So I feel you can get to a certain level especially like if you're just gifted, because training doesn't make you gifted. It helps you use what you have.
Yeah.
But if you are like a truly gifted person, or if you have, like real talent for something, training should polish that and bring it out, and it should give you a way to access it and to use it. And I think for me that's what training has done. So anyone would benefit from training, but it really brings out what's already there.
So it sounds like then that you are fully invested in being an actor for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I would say. Aside from what you mentioned, is there like one specific thing that you really feel that has changed you? I mean, as you said, you have creativity now.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering because, when you had that thought first of that you were not an academic, and the second one where you just burst out and
I love art.
you love art. It's like, where do those things come from? It's just pops out of you. You have no
I'm
idea.
literally out loud both times.
Yeah.
It came out of my mouth and I didn't even know I thought that.
So it was an impulse that happens, which acting really is saying you need to go with the impulses that you have. But
I would draw a distinction between like life in general and acting. Like in acting, yes, pretty much always you go with your impulse as long as you're not hurting yourself or someone else.
Right.
And you're serving the project. You're serving the story and the character. But in life, I would say, and I think I struggle with this, like I took the freedom that I found and I applied it in normal life. And that does not always work out so well.
Okay.
Like as adults, we do still engage in a lot of social behavior, and that's how we live. And I don't understand all of it, and I don't like all of it. And I think I felt after that first year of training, the freedom of not being limited by that. But then, if you apply that
in everyday life,
sometimes it doesn't go so well.
Right. So right now you are literally thinking, you're planning on moving back to the States. And what made you have, I know you thought about it for a long time, but what was the thing that made you finally decide to take the move? Because honestly, you've been living in Taiwan for 21 years.
My entire adult life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what made that decision happen at the end of the day?
I think one, I'd kind of been ignoring still the fact that there aren't parts for people like me, like larger parts. Just thinking that it would happen. I'd been naive, and then suddenly I realized, and like I don't want to go into too much detail, but like people that I was working with on a regular basis in class, they didn't choose me, like to work with them when it came down to it, and I mean like pretty much across the board. And I thought, okay, if the people who see me work like regularly don't see value in working with me and don't want to include me, then those are the people who should be most likely to. And if they don't want to, if they can't, then that means like society at large here, there's not, or the bigger like entertainment industry here, the larger industry there's not really much hope for me in that sense. And it was extremely painful. I mean, I don't know how to be an adult anywhere else. I know, and I had thought of this place as my home. I never expected to stay, and then I never expected to leave. But yeah, I think sometimes, it is painful. It was a really painful moment, and it was born out of like a lot of sadness and rejection and frustration. But I thought, I don't have to accept that. Like I can, and I shouldn't be doing things for other people. So if they don't want to work with me, finally, it took like at least a year and a half. Fine, okay, so that's your choice.
You didn't wallow in it.
I did for quite a
Oh,
while.
for a
I
while,
would say like it literally caused heart problems. I had to take heart medication
Mm.
for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what specifically was the thing that bothered you the most? Just the rejection of you?
I think, yeah, because I thought we were all the same, that we were all doing the same thing and all working towards the same thing, and we were all like one group together. And then I realized that we weren't, or I wasn't to them, like one of them. And I thought that we were all the same.
Is it because that you're not Taiwanese, that you're Caucasian, you think?
I think
In
that's
terms of that?
mostly that, but also more than that. Yeah, I think part of it. I'm probably my whole life will struggle somewhat with like fitting in. I just don't really fit in that well. But yeah, I was really surprised because I thought like we're all artists. I thought that this was maybe an exception.
Right, as a group of artists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're preparing to go back to the States. What's your feeling about that? Because you're talking about Taiwan as your home.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts about moving back to the States and getting back into the general population society of American society, honestly?
Oh, my first thought is like, how do I need a place to live, and I can't go without that, and I need to have an idea of how I'll make money, because my money's going to go really fast.
You have family in the States, though.
I do have family, and I have family in New York, but
Right.
they don't feel that it's convenient.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a really big thing. And then there's so many things I don't know how to do. Like here, things are, in a lot of ways, things are really simplified. Like I want to file my taxes. I go to the office, I give them my health card, and then it's pretty much done.
Yeah, in Taiwan, a lot of things
Yeah.
are easier.
And
Especially if you're a foreigner, though, sometimes. Sometimes I'm saying.
that's true. It can work in
Yes.
your favor. Like people can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so straightforward. I want to go to the doctor. It's so easy to make an appointment, and I just go, and the copay is so low. It's so low. Yeah. And I have no idea, like, even how to go about finding insurance, for example, looking for an apartment. Here, I'm really used to the safety.
Yeah.
You know, I feel fine. Like, just the other night, like, we were together on New Year's Eve, and well, actually, I took the MRT home that night because we've been drinking, so I didn't ride my bike. But, you know, I often ride my bike, and everything was legal.
Yeah.
I
had a headache the next day. Hungover.
Yeah, I feel like even if it's really late, I feel quite safe here. I don't often feel worried for my safety. I think there are a lot of traffic accidents, but people, I don't know, this society is so different from the US. We don't have as many guns. We don't have a lot of violent crime, and I'm very comfortable with it. And I enjoy that. I also enjoy being normal size. Like I can stand in line and I can breathe. But I feel like in the US, people are huge. And I can't breathe because my face is in someone's back, the middle of someone's back, because they're so much bigger than me. Just stupid things,
it's interesting because it's
like
like
that. And like the car culture, I hate it.
Yeah, you mean because everybody has a car?
Yeah, like and you
to
in
get
so many places,
places,
you
yeah.
have to have a car.
Yeah.
And then like when I visited the States last, my hips actually hurt from sitting in a car, and I was like, that's it. I cannot. I told me I have to get out. I have to get out like right now, and I have to walk around.
I mean, I just have to explain to the audience is that your major mode of transportation
is
is
my
not
bicycle.
the MRT or anything, it's your bike.
Yes,
so
true.
being out there, being free,
Yeah.
getting the exercise is quite different than sitting.
Yes, and I
in
rode
a
my
car.
bike here today.
Yes,
It was like
I don't
19
know how
kilometers.
you do it, honestly,
And it was
Erin.
windy.
But yeah, so all those things concerns that you have, because it was really interesting when you were just talking now, and you were saying we, as in you are Taiwan, and
was
we
that? I
as
didn't
in-
even notice.
Yes, which is really, really very interesting because you're identifying as here.
Yeah.
you know. So and you know, it's a sad thing, I feel like, that you feel the the need to get out of this environment because of certain circumstances. But I would say that in the direction that you're going, where you really are passionate about what you're doing right now in acting, that, you know, things happen in our life for certain reasons, you know, and so the time of you going back to the States, you know, there's another time to grow. It's just about getting logistics together.
Yeah.
Have you decided? You haven't decided exactly which city you're going to stay in?
I think I'm still aiming for New York. I'm
Okay,
open to others like LA or possibly Atlanta, but I'm more aiming for New York just because there's so much more available in one place in terms of like training and opportunities on stage.
Right,
and
because I was
film.
going to say,
Yeah,
it's
I'd like to do
stage.
both.
Yeah, yeah. Theater is different than film, you know,
Quite.
honestly. Yeah, yeah.
Quite.
So a lot of actors really prefer the stage experience. It's a thing where you're
very
having
alive.
to be, yeah, it's alive, it's present.
And
you
it's
have
the
to-
entire story. You get to go in order through the entire journey. Whereas like in film, who knows?
Cut
And then
here,
they could
scene
like
two,
like
scene
I literally
five.
just did one where we did like in terms of time a later scene, and then we came back to do an earlier scene, and then even though I'd had all this time, all this, mind you, I was speaking Chinese for this role as a Belgian with a French accent. And then the afternoon the day before we shot, after all of this time, I got a new script. And it had like a different part, and I would have done the later part differently if I'd had that earlier, and I can't go back and redo anything. And it was just one of those like,
I wonder if it's just a Taiwanese thing, you know, Taiwan production thing, or whether it's going to happen in the States not as often.
no,
maybe.
because
Yeah.
I don't,
Well,
I know
in
nothing
film,
about
yeah.
I
Yeah.
really don't have any experience at all
Yeah,
in the
that's
industry in the
interesting because you
States.
said all your adult life, that's like half your life that you've
Pretty much, very close to
been here.
and in my entire adult life.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I do not know how to adult.
What's
in
your
the United
biggest fear?
States.
Do you have any?
Fear. Do I have fear?
Of
I
going,
have fears.
of moving back to the States?
What is my biggest fear? I hadn't thought specific. There are lots of things that I'm concerned about, like running out of money, not finding a place, not being able to find work, not finding a place and people to train with.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I guess still not having opportunities. But I don't think I've thought so fearfully about that. But just like I find a lot of things overwhelming, like insurance.
Yeah. The cost of living is
I
definitely
don't understand how to do
way
these
higher
things.
there.
You know, I just don't know I don't even know where to start. And for
Yeah.
me, that's very, very overwhelming. And like, I just don't know how to do those. Like, I guess they're not really simple, but they're things everyone does there. I don't know how to do those.
Yeah.
The last time, I haven't filed my taxes in a really long time. The U.S. requires that citizens abroad still file their taxes even if they don't have to pay them. I thought, I'm not a dumb person. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
I should be able to do this. And I printed out the manual, which, by the way, was surprisingly long.
Yes.
And then
the instructions are so...
I started it seemed to start off like simple enough, like, okay, if this is the case, then you fill out this box. I thought, oh, thank God. And then it just blew up from there, and I was in tears. I could not figure out, I don't understand what they're asking in some cases, or it seems to me like what they're saying is, if they're saying like, is your situation A or B? And I look at A and I'm like, no. I look at B and I'm like, no. And then it says like, it's A or B, and I'm like, but it's not. And then it makes you sign a thing that says that, you know, you can be persecuted for perjury, prosecuted for perjury if you lie on this. And I'm like, but I'm not. I have literally added extra information to a government form before in the U.S. because I couldn't answer it the way that they asked it. My brain does not allow me to, like, I couldn't understand how to answer it. and that kind of stuff I find really scary.
Yeah, you know, it just kind of reminds me of a lot of friends that have lived abroad and worked abroad for so long. In my circle when I was working corporate and things. And after 15, 20 years, 25 years, and they go back to the States and, you know, they have to start all over again. You know, they couldn't get a loan for a car because they didn't had credit in the U.S. for so long. A lot of the things that we think normally would be simple, it's not. And it's funny is because you're finding it hard to do something in English, where I would think that in Chinese it's because there's a lot of things complicated in Chinese, especially if you don't know the language. But I feel like I could figure it out more in the States than I could figure out here. If I translate all the forms here in Chinese, it's still a process for me. But yeah, I think that is definitely a big thing. You're going to be a little bit like a fish out of water again, even though you're an American. Yeah.
And
So,
I'm not looking forward to, like, just, I think the way people live, and I know it's everywhere, but especially like consumerism, influencers, that kind of stuff. I don't like that.
but influencers are all over the
They
place.
are,
now.
but I think that like the whole like U.S. culture is so much about consuming, and the economy is all based on that. And I'm the kind of person who will use something until it literally falls apart. Like, I was looking at the seat of my pants, not these ones, another pair this morning, and they're about to like tear through. I'm not sure how many rides they have left in them. But just like things like that, I don't feel like I fit in that way, like always buying something new, or like I'm not very fashionable. I don't know how to be, and when I try to be, that's not me. I feel like the U.S., the people have been pushed to political extremes, like, and people are so polarized, and I can't, like, you can't have conversations about things you should be able to have conversations about, and things that are important don't get done because people are arguing from political standpoints instead of addressing issues practically. And it's just so frustrating, and I also don't understand, like, if someone is presented with evidence, it should matter. And it doesn't.
Black and white.
It doesn't, and I just cannot cope with that. I can't handle it. Like, it really makes me want to bang my head into a wall.
Well, so then that's the thing, is that do you regret the decision that you're making to go back to the States? Because this is definitely things that you have to deal with.
There's no question.
So I guess, when you're talking about going back and not sure if you can fit into a community, I think or from what I understand, is that once you're in that, for example, New York, wherever, and you're in the theater community, and you're not, a standout like here in terms of your looks and your hair and things like that, that there's the support that you're going to get over there. Because I honestly believe things that happen in our lives is always for a reason, and at this point in your life, you're making this adjustment again, and then who knows? Whatever you're doing in the States may be bringing you back, whether it's to teach or whether it's a project that's filming in Taiwan, because Taiwan is here already.
And I can legally come back.
Yeah, exactly.
At least once
now
every
you don't
5
have
years,
to,
and
you don't have to worry about that anymore.
That was huge.
So that's really important. So
this place, I wouldn't be where I am for sure. Like, this would not have happened if I'd stayed in the U.S. For sure. There's no doubt in my mind that it may seem strange looking at it, like, how did you get there? How did you get to this point? Like, you want to be an actor, and after living here all of these years and having getting a master's degree using Chinese in political science, but that is the journey that it took to get me here, and that wasn't like, those weren't the destinations. They were just the things that I needed to do at that time, and that's why I'm here now. But to me, none of that is wasted.
That's cool. So I was just gonna say, do you have any advice for people that maybe want to come to live in Taiwan?
I would say the standard of living is really high, comparatively high. The cost of living is quite low. If you are wanting to save for another purpose, that you might want to consider, because it's going to be difficult to do that. But if you want to live, I would say, especially if you don't speak a lot of Chinese, Taipei is still very accessible. And now more and more some of the other big cities like Kaohsiung, maybe Taichung, I don't know. But I would suggest try and learn the language. And people here are really friendly. I did have a guy who scared the crap out of me on my way here on my bike, because coming from behind me on a scooter, he yelled, "Go, go, go."
Because you're too slow?
No, he was cheering me on.
Oh, okay.
But that's not helpful for me, because I couldn't see him, and then he just yelled at me.
So does that mean he's friendly?
Yeah, he was, and actually, because he did it a second time.
Right.
After he made this turn.
加油!
Yeah, but he actually said it in English.
Okay.
Sometimes people say it in Chinese.
Practicing in English.
And I did say to him as he rode beside me, please don't yell that at me.
Most people will not have the same experience as you, Erin, because most people that come to live in Taiwan, they're not necessarily biking their whole place.
But I will say, Taiwan offers a lot. If you are wanting to work in another field, not teaching English, you probably need to get that work experience first.
Yeah.
And if you can work for a company that hires you on an international salary to bring you here, that's by far the best. If you expect to come here with just a bachelor's and no specific experience in a particular field, then you are going to teach English if you stay here. That is what you're going to do.
Right.
You won't have opportunities to do anything else, because legally you can't do them. So that's just something to consider. But the culture, I find, is pretty open. People here are really helpful. In general, they're quite warm. Things are so convenient. They really are. Transportation. Yeah. And it's just going more and more in that direction, I think.
Yeah.
So I would say, come. I mean, if that's something that you're interested in, it's certainly feasible. Yeah.
Okay, so one more last thing before we let you go. You are going back to the States because of this passion that you have for acting. So do you have any words about following your dream or following your passion? I mean, is it something difficult, or it can be very easy?
Can it be easy? I think it probably can. It's not ever been easy for me.
Following your passion.
Yeah, it takes, because if it's your passion, that means that you have to take it seriously. You might have a passion, you decide to have it as a hobby. That's fine. But if you want to make it, for example, your profession, it really requires that you dedicate yourself to it. And that's not a part-time dedication. That's you're willing to work for it, and you work a lot on yourself. You work with other people. You try and get professional training. You know where your weaknesses are, and you try and get what you need to fill those in. It's not easy. And in my case, I can't get a lot of roles. I can't make a ton of money doing this. So it also requires that I have another job, and
that's a typical thing for
I think
actors,
that's for actors,
right? People
or other gig
work,
people, gig economy. But no, it's not easy. But I would say it's worth it, and the other things that you do can help feed into your passion. I teach, and I know from that, I'm regularly, especially in one-on-one classes, exercising listening and observing, just constantly, which is why it's so exhausting. But I think that you shouldn't think about it as it's taking away from your passion, but it's making it possible. And if you really are serious about something, then you have to be ready to work. And if you're not ready to work, then that is not really your job. That is, maybe it'll be a hobby.
Right.
But if you're serious, you have to say, this is what I want. These are what the things I need to do to get there. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it every day.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for joining us on another episode of Old Asian Lady. See you next time. Bye-bye.